Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We provide fan-oriented and analytic discussions on a variety of animated shows, movies, and anime, currently featuring Steven Universe, Miraculous Ladybug, New Powerpuff Girls, Star vs. the Force of Evil, and RWBY. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Delaney Stovall.
Hey, y'all.
Today, Delaney and I will be discussing Episode 1 of Volume 4 of RWBY, The Next Step. We are back with our weekly RWBY episode reviews. We'll be here every week discussing each episode of Volume 4 of RWBY. You can check us out at overlyanimated.com, or you can search for the Overly Animated Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, or whatever your podcatcher is. You can find our RWBY specific iTunes feed on our website. We reviewed every episode of Volume 3 of RWBY. You can check out those reviews, and you can check out our Volume 4 preview, which we recorded last week. And I think we got a lot of things right. So we'll discuss, for once, we'll discuss the correct predictions. But yeah, we're here. We'll be here with you all season long for the RWBY reviews. If you're listening on YouTube, subscribe to us there. Subscribe to us on iTunes, and stay with us for what looks to be an interesting season of RWBY. So, spoilers, of course, for this episode, The Next Step, which aired publicly today, Sunday, and yesterday privately on Rooster Teeth's website. And yeah, so, Delaney, reactions to this premiere for Volume 4.
It had a lot. There was just a lot going on. It flipped around a bit. I don't want to say, it was okay. I don't think it was, amazing or anything. Also, there was too much Sean, which is always Delaney's issue. I don't know, this episode's weird. I mean, I think we're setting the stage for everything that's going to happen, and it seems like it's just a lot and kind of mildly conflicting things, so we'll see. It was just okay. There were a few things that I thought were a bit surprising that obviously we'll talk about, and then some things that weren't really that surprising, so
yeah.
It was okay.
It was okay, yeah. No, I would describe this as a very competent premiere, although very unexciting.
Yeah, it's not impressive. It's just it's okay. Okay.
I think other than the animation, it's certainly not impressive compared to the rest of RWBY.
No, it is gorgeous. It definitely looks great.
That being said, I do think that there's nothing specifically wrong with this episode.
No.
So
really.
That's a good thing already, because usually we come in here with specific things to complain about. I mean, there's one you already said it. There's one very general thing which we'll talk about, which is the John prominence. And if this is something we talked about last week on our preview, and is this going to be a problem all season? But it's not. But if he fades a little bit, then it's not. Him being prominent in this specific episode is not an episode specific problem, I would say. So yeah, I think that there's some interesting elements here. I think there's a lot that was expected from this premiere, and then there's two things specifically, the first two scenes of the premiere, which were surprising. So there's going to be a lot to speculate on there. But in general, it's very competent and very it was solid, I guess. I think this is probably a good sign for the season, but I'm not sure. It's going to depend a lot on where we go. That being said, yeah, a lot to talk about with the new villains and this random farm boy. So those are the two.
Oh my god, I was just what? Why? Who are you? Why?
These are my two top topics to discuss. We'll go in order from the episode, and then we'll get into everything with Team Ranger. Obviously, Ren and RWBY are correct on this, as we discussed last week. Team Ranger. It's Ranger, obviously. And then the battle scene, and Weiss showing up randomly at the end for no reason. And we'll talk about the new intro too. So let's get into all of this. Okay. So, let's lead with this farm boy. Okay. This is not the most important thing, but it's the most interesting thing to speculate on. So let's talk about this. So first we have the new villain scene, and then we transition to this presumably young boy, maybe young teen boy who's just doing random farm tasks, and he has these weird green eyes, and he has freckles, and the transition makes it seem like he's waking up from a nightmare about the new villains, but that could just be the transition, right?
Right, yeah.
Right. So what was your impression of the scene? You're just what's happening?
I was just who are you? And I was oh my god, it's a boy. No, I was please stop introducing male characters. But the whole time I was just what's gonna happen? What is it? It was just baffling. And this, presumably we're gonna see him again. I don't know. If not, I'm just this was stupid.
Okay, obviously it's not going to be random.
Yeah,
Okay, let me give you the leading theories. I have been poring over the the forum posts on the RWBY premiere. I'm very prepared for this with the leading theories here. So, courtesy of CO, I guess I'll say this once what CO is. CO is the comics and cartoons board of 4chan. That's the only time I'll say what it is, but you should not go there. But that's where I get my RWBY speculation from. It's decent. So let's talk. Okay, so here's the leading theory. This is the Spring Maiden.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so why is this a Spring Maiden? Well, in the villain scene, Tyrion is tasked with hunting for the Spring Maiden before his task is subverted. So, it would kind of make sense that this would be the person that they're talking about.
Like, if they show us the Spring Maiden, that makes sense. Like, to do that, and if we're going to keep going back and forth, like, what's the Spring Maiden doing?
Right, so that kind of makes sense, and there's the weird eyes, kind of spring-colored eyes. The obviously the big problem is this character is being presented to us as male.
Yeah.
So what's going on there? Potentially, maybe the maidens can reincarnate into any gender. Maybe they're doing a Pidge.
Yeah.
From Voltron. Spoilers. Or maybe they're just playing with our expectations and this is in fact a girl. I doubt that they would do that, but I don't think, or, maybe they're playing with our expectations and they're subverting the gender binary, but not the show. So, I feel like that's the most likely theory. There's a few other options. Here's one that interested me. This is Ozpin reincarnated. So Ozpin the villains say that Ozpin is dead. The end of last season presented us as Ozpin is missing, not dead. But if Ozpin is indeed the old man from the Maiden Tale, maybe he's some sort of Dalai Lama type figure. This would make a lot of sense that the show would do reincarnation because it's extremely heavily Avatar influenced. So them doing this type of reincarnated figure, and if Ozpin is the next version of the old man in the Maiden Tale, then I think that would make a lot of sense. That being said, this is only half a year afterwards, and this boy is clearly older than half a year. So I'm not sure how that would work. Yeah,
I think the Spring Maiden makes like the most sense.
It could be both. It could be
This
doesn't necessarily intersect. I do think him being some form of Ozpin is interesting. It doesn't need to be a specific reincarnation like we think of it. Maybe jumped into this kid, or maybe this is a new form of Ozpin,
Right.
That would be interesting. I mean, they talk like the scene transitions from the new villain intro, so I think that it also makes sense that they talk about Ozpin in that scene. So this could also be what that is. And then a lot of people also saying this is RWBY's new love interest, which is like no. But yeah, I think all these things are. There's some other things. Mostly, I'm seeing Spring Maiden. Clearly, he's somebody.
Yeah.
Why have this as the second scene in the premiere?
I will say the scene was like really weird, and it's like, why are we watching you do farm tasks?
Yeah, I think this is probably not great storytelling. I mean, they're obviously thinking on more of a long-term scale with the season, so we'll see what happens. At least in terms of on an episode-specific level, it didn't really work. It also wasn't. I mean, it wasn't that bad. Like, there's also kind of them showing off the new animation a little bit, which is good.
But it was also just like, it's just like, oh my god, what is going on?
So we'll see what happens with this. Let us know your thoughts on which theory, if you have other theories. I've seen some other random stuff, but mostly in that realm. Okay, so we got this out of the way. So let's talk about the new villain conference. Much like remembrances of season 4 of Korra, they're on a conference call, all these new villains. So,
oh my god,
I did not expect them to do this. I guess to them to introduce 3 new villains and then to have everyone there at once. So we open up in the location that we saw Salem, who is the new head villain at the end of volume 3, and we see like Grimm like coming out of the slime, outside, presumably being born, like early life type thing. So this is apparently a place where Grimm just like spawn outside of in like puddles and stuff like that. And then presumably this is also the location where they're holding this meeting. And so we have Salem giving orders and kind of being nice, I would say.
Yeah.
What are your impressions of Salem from this episode? She's pretty nice.
Yeah, she seems all right. I mean, she protected Cinder, which I appreciated because those all the men are annoying. So
you were on Cinder's side in this.
Yes,
yeah.
I mean, it's just like that was I'm glad that Salem called like, what's his face out? Because it's like, literally last season, like, the world ended. Like, that's like Cinder won. Like, I don't understand why, like,
yeah,
that was so stupid.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense the direction they went in. It definitely seemed like, I mean, I guess she got like bested somehow, but
I guess it was like I feel like it was just a lot in reference to like her not being able to talk. And like this and this, when it was like, she did more than you did. I don't even know who you are. Like,
yeah, we don't even know who you are. So let's talk Cinder. Cinder, Zuko Cinder for sure. But also mute ? Cinder.
Yeah.
Talks through Emerald. Still has the Fall Maiden's powers. Killed Ozpin, they say. Holds. Salem says she holds the key to their victory. She says maidens have a kryptonite weakness to the Silver Eye people. So like she was specifically subverted by RWBY because she became the maiden, is how it was presented in the episode. Yeah. And then she's ordered to remain here with Salem instead of going out. Impressions of this new Cinder that we see.
I mean, I'm like, I don't like it because it's like it's like basically what we're doing to Yang. Like we took this, like really, like, I mean, what's interesting about Cinder was like her character and her attitude, and like we took this really interesting character, and then it's like we hurt her, and now she can't do anything, and like that's really irritating. And especially in context of having like all these new male villains, it's like, really, we're gonna do this right now?
Yeah.
But like, I can see it being like, since we have Salem and like Salem's like being nice to Cinder, and like we'll just have to see where it goes. I mean, initially it's really irritating. Like people are gonna be like, oh yeah, it makes sense, blah blah blah, and it's bad. So we'll have to see where they go with it. But like having Cinder and Yang and like doing this is like, eh.
Yeah, I think it's bad juxtaposed with Yang. I thought it was kind of interesting seeing Cinder in this new light. Like Zuko Cinder's an interesting direction to take that character.
It's just really like, it's just so annoying when we take characters and like we feel like we especially specifically female characters, we feel the need to break them.
Yeah. To
do things, and it's just like, okay, great.
The show does seem the need to do that, which is in line with the philosophies of the people making it. But I mean, I don't necessarily think that we're doing the Yang type thing with Cinder. We'll see where they take it. I mean, she's certainly hurt and stuff.
Right. We'll have to see what happens. But like, I mean, initially it's like, not a fan of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think trying to view it in isolation in this episode, I thought it was fine. And I'm intrigued by what we might do with this character. Although certainly, if we play it out like Yang type thing, then I would not be a fan. But we'll see. But Cinder still does have the maiden powers, so presumably still very powerful. First of our three new villains, we have Dr. Watts, the mustache guy. He is mean to Cinder.
Yep.
He is ordered by Salem to take Cinder's place and meet with the informant in Mistral. What did you think of Dr. Watts? Big jerk?
Yeah, no, he's a punk. Also, his mustache is stupid.
Oh,
he looks stupid.
I think this is supposed to be the audience favorite type character. He's supposed to be like the glorious, like B, like the other B word. You know, like I think he's like a crow, like a villainous crow.
So what's the thing? We have like these, I mean, that's also another thing that's kind of like not interesting about this scene a little bit is like we have all these super typical archetypal villains sitting at this table.
Yeah. No, I don't think any of the three were super successful right away. They're definitely archetypal. Like he's the glorious B.
And then there's Tyrion's
the crazy one, and then Hazel's like the quiet, hulking like guy.
Yeah.
You know, it's not super, and none of the characterizations are super interesting.
No.
Everything Dr. Watts says is pretty typical.
Yeah.
I think his voice is good.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, it's like we need someone to take the place of our previous glorious B villain. So, you know, maybe he's our new.
I guess so.
He's our new jerk. So that's Dr. Watts. We have Tyrion, who just laughs a bunch and is like, an eye for an eye, you know.
He's just crazy.
Presumably male, but not 100% clear on that. And Tyrion is initially ordered to hunt for the Spring Maiden, but then go find RWBY first and bring her to me, says Salem. After Cinder requests that they find RWBY. So it seems like Tyrion's the one we'll initially see. Yeah,
we'll see. Like that's pretty typical. We'll see like the crazy guy going after people.
Yeah, this is very video gamey.
No, this is like super. Like we're just watching the Joker right now. Like that's what's going on.
Thoughts on Tyrion?
I mean, I like his archetype. I detest. Like, I hate characters like him, and it's like I'm not a fan. So if they do maybe something that's not awful, I might get over it. But I just hate this type of character. So
yeah, I'm not the biggest fan, but they didn't. I don't know if they did anything of the typical things that are annoying with this type in the first episode.
Just the fact of the character, like the character itself, is irritating.
Exist, yeah.
So like,
yeah. So we'll see what they do with them. And then we have Hazel, who's the least prominent, just the guy with the I don't know. He's just like a distorted deep voice, and he is tasked with meeting with Adam and also Sienna Khan. Who is not someone who we've heard of before.
No, which I wonder, so Adam's in charge of the White Fang, but is he like the leader?
Yeah, so I think this episode is presenting Sienna Khan as the new lead, as the true leader of the White Fang.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's my initial impression. But it's not clear. It's very vague. But definitely it seems like we're saying no, Adam is not the leader of the White Fang. Maybe Adam was leader of like the local chapter.
Yeah, or he's like second in command.
Yeah, because Salem says see if Sienna Khan feels the same way about this is a good development though, having Adam not being in charge of the White Fang and having a female White Fang leader. That's interesting. Yeah,
definitely. And also like maybe we'll see less of Adam, please.
So it's not clear whether we should see more. Like, I think if we should not have the current level of Adam. Like, either make Adam a character or like don't have him be like.
Make him a character or get rid of him. Those are your options.
So I don't think more of Adam is necessarily bad, but I don't have faith that they do that correctly. Yeah. So thoughts on Hazel? Not much there.
Right. Yeah. He's just.
Is he your fave by default?
I mean, no. They're just all like.
You have to have a fave of the three.
No. Can my fave just be Salem? Like.
What about Cinder?
Cinder and Salem are great. It's like the other three are like just meh.
So not a great. I mean, I think that in this episode, these three are presented fine. They're very archetypal. They're not much interesting going on, but just at the shock of introducing three new villains and having them interact in interesting ways, I think carries it in this episode. Definitely skeptical of how they'll be used in the future.
Right. Yeah.
I thought it was fine here. And then Salem says Beacon has fallen. Haven will be next. So this episode, we're definitely given the thread of our new location this season will be Mistral, where Haven is. Like, that's all they talk about. Anytime, the only time any continent is mentioned, it's or kingdom is Mistral, and the only school, it's like we're going to Haven. Like, everything seems like that's where we're taking location wise now. Rooster Teeth put out I should have told you this, but they're not that exciting. 4 like mini 2-minute things about each continent and kingdom. Pretty typical. I took a history class. Now I can develop a fake history of continents type stuff. But now we know some stuff about Mistral, and it's to the east. So that's where we're going. And also, if you look in the intro, the RWBY thing goes to the eastern continent. So what do you think of changing locations? It was pretty clear that we're going to be doing this.
Well, I mean, that's what I wanted. Like when we were talking about like predictions and stuff, I think it'll be neat. I don't know how I feel really about like going to Haven and like being like. It's not Horcruxy, but it's kind of like, oh, we have to go to all the other like schools.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I understand why. It's because like they're trying to get rid of the hunters and huntresses, which like are the only ones who present a threat to the Grimm. But I don't know. It just still kind of like I get what we're doing, but it's also but why? Like, really, why are we doing this? Like this episode's all about we're helping RWBY with her mission. But it's like, okay, what is it? Like, it can't just be murdering Grimm to go to Haven. Like, so that little part's a little shaky, but. Man, I'm glad we'll be seeing more of Remnant and stuff because that's cool.
Yeah, I think they could just be doing like just a one location season. Like it could just be Mistrals this season,
right?
Which I think is maybe more interesting than traveling the world in a short amount of time. It's also an interesting place to go to because we don't know that much about Mistral or Vacuo. We know a fair amount about Atlas in the north, but. That's just from the character last season. So I think it's interesting, like kind of an open book on what we'll see in Mistral and Haven.
Yeah.
It definitely seems like that's where we're going.
Well, it's interesting that they introduced this whole like outside of the kingdoms because I don't think like I haven't watched the World of Remnants. This probably is in the World of Remnants, but I didn't know that like people lived outside of the kingdoms. So that's like pretty neat.
Yeah, they do talk about that in the World of
I need to
Remnants
watch
that were
those.
just released. I mean, it's very vague. It's just like there's some people in the middle of the giant continent. Yeah. But yeah, the one for Mistral is potentially the most interesting one. There's a fair amount of stuff there. I think they present Mistral as being there's like a high arts upper class, and there's also a like developed like lower class with the big black market. So that's what they present us in Mistral. So that could be interesting. Yeah. So overall, there's our villain conference scene. Thoughts on this? Definitely, I think it was unexpected for us. We didn't really speculate about going to Salem right away. And
Yeah.
Do you think we'll be checking in with Salem a lot, or do you think this is kind of a bookends thing for the season?
No, I think we'll be checking in with her a lot, especially since like I think we're kind of be focusing on this relationship between Salem and Cinder, and like because I think we really are starting to like buckle down into like the maiden plots and stuff. Like, so we'll probably seeing a lot of Cinder and Salem, and then like occasionally the other guys, and then whoever the farm boy is.
Yeah, I would have said that probably bookends for Salem, but Cinder stays with Salem. So I think we need to see Cinder again. I don't think we're going to go like the whole season without seeing Cinder. So we'll probably see Salem at least. I'd say that the like long term, the longest it could be is probably halfway through the season.
Right. Yeah.
Checking again. Yeah, that's interesting. So presumably we'll see Tyrion next and see what happens there. Overall, was this for me? This was one of the highlights of the episode, more just because it was unexpected.
Like I was just like, oh god, like I just didn't. They were just. It was just so much archetype to me. I was just like, I can't deal with this.
Very, very archetype.
There was just a lot of things in this scene that just like highly irritated me. I mean, I'm glad. Like, it's interesting that we have more villains, and like seeing Salem right off the bat was really great. But it was just like right now I'm not a big fan of our new villains because they're just like so archetypal.
Maybe they'll grow on you. I doubt it, but we'll see.
I doubt it too. But we'll see.
Speaking of things that irritate Delaney, let's talk about John. And so we have an intro scene for Team RWBY plus the remainder. We're fighting about the name Ranger or Junior. So Ren and Nora discuss this. Thoughts on this scene where they like it pops up on the screen. It was, it's irritating because then John's like, yeah, Junior's way cooler. But
yeah, no, that was really weird. Like doing letters, it was like, why are we doing this? That was meh. Like obviously Ranger's better, though. I don't understand Ren being like, it's not a color. Like Ranger isn't a color either.
Yeah,
I don't like what.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that.
Color? What?
I mean, Ruby is a color, I guess. I'm not 100% clear on this joke, but I think their names were supposed to be colors or something. But yeah, that scene was okay. I thought it was fine. Then we get into the main brunt of the episode, this Ranger fight scene against giant Spirit Rock video game boss. Yeah, so getting definitely a thing to track is how's the fight scenes. We talked about that last season, and they ranged from not great to pretty good, I would say.
Yeah.
And there are some particularly good ones. This one, pretty long term. We get to see all the dynamics of our new focal point of the season. Thoughts on this fight scene?
I mean, I'd say it probably rests like in the middle of like the scale you just gave. Yeah. It was like good. It just kind of like it almost went on for too long. Like, it was like, okay, we're fighting the giant rock thing. Okay. And, I mean, I think it's probably the most, like, video game boss battle-like that we've probably had. It's very, like, especially since they kept going with John's the strategist. Like, he has a strategy if we do this, this, and this. I think the most interesting part of the fight scene was the end when, like, they defeated it and, like, it spun out of itself or whatever, and then RWBY shot it. That was really neat. I mean, it was nice to see, like, the different, like, upgrades. I mean, It was an interesting fight, but I think sometimes, I don't know, I think in this case, the nature of their weapons made it kind of not as interesting because it was made out of rock, so it was kind of like, okay. Like, I know that was the point of the fight, but it was also really boring kind of to watch at times because it was like, you have knives and you're hitting a rock, okay.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that the first 3/4 of the scene were not too exciting. It was a lot of them just like attacking and then just getting rebuffed by the thing. I think the scene gets there at the end, like you said, with when they defeat it and then it comes out. I think it's an interesting concept. I think the RWBY and Nora combined attack is really nice.
That looked really cool.
Yeah, it did. And also the music really picks up at the end with like the electric guitar, and it's really good. So like the last fourth of the scene is actively good. I think the first 3/4 of it is kind of boring. The major problem with this and the rest of the second half of the episode is really the audience is not super incentivized to care about Ren and Nora, and to somewhat of a lesser extent John. Like Delaney and I joke about this, but they really did take the most interesting member out of that team. And yes, we're replacing RWBY with her, which is an upgrade because anyone's RWBY is an upgrade. But this is still not a team that has been super presented in extreme detail in the show, and it's not someone we built emotional connections with like our main team. I mean, this is going to get into the big high level discussion, but taking away 3 of the only 4 characters we care about is not typically a good storytelling idea.
No.
So and then to have an extended fight sequence with the rest of them, and yes, these are secondary characters who we care about to a certain extent, but really, I don't really care what Nora or Ren's new weapons are.
I really don't
at
care
all
about Nora.
And I like Nora and Ren, but I just don't care about their new designs or their new weapons. I'm much more invested in seeing Weiss at the end in a stupid scene. So like, that's the big problem. I don't know if it's specifically the fight scene. I mean, getting back into the fight scene, you're right. This is the most video game bossy scene. I mean, John literally outlines a basic video game strategy. We have to cut off all its limbs and then attack it. Like, great. Good job, John. I actually thought that scene where he's getting advice from off screen and they just keep the camera on him was actually really interestingly presented.
Yeah.
Like that was the concept is super irritating. Like John's the strategist, and like literally they're just shouting the answer at him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's the answer," But and the show doesn't really realize that that's what's happening. But it's I thought that was well storyboarded. Not too many RWBY scenes stand out in like technique storyboarding. It's a lot less of like a technical show. Like on a Steven Universe, I might be like, oh, that scene was really interestingly presented. But I thought that this was an interesting case of that. But I don't know why we need to face a video game boss. Like, I guess the RWBY's a video game, but we could have some difference. What do you think of the concept of this is a new concept of a kind of spirit inhabited Grimm?
I don't it's weird. Like, I don't know. Like,
the show hasn't presented this to us at all.
Right. Like, it's just this really kind of confusing and like this. Like, we thought we understood the Grimm. Granted, the Grimm are just kind of this vague concept of like evil and darkness. So like clearly they have a lot of room to play with it, but it's just I'm not sure. Like, it's interesting. We'll have to see more. Like, because all we've seen are like Grimm are creatures that like they're just creatures. They're just what they are. So I don't really know. So I guess this is just kind of a special Grimm. But we'll just have to see, I guess. Like, it was weird. I don't know. I didn't really think that much about it because I was just like, I don't know what's going on. But
yeah, no, it definitely challenges our concept of what Grimm are that we've been presented with. I mean, largely when I think of what Grimm are, I go back to the end of Volume 2 scenes with the Grimm outside the abandoned city and like the teacher talking about them and stuff. And this seems like somewhat contradictory to that, but I don't really care about them contradicting their mythology with this because it's very vague already.
Yeah.
This is very Avatar-y concept again, with the spirit possession inhabiting things. This is very much something from like the Avatar spirit world. And I liked it. I thought that was interesting. They didn't really do anything with it.
Right.
So, maybe this will be a recurring concept, but yeah. So yeah, overall fight theme, the fight, it was okay.
Yeah, it was fine.
Okay, it was fine. So next we have our post-fight scene of John getting his weapons. Apparently his weapons were in the shop. They say they're on their way to Mistral. John gets a new chest plate, and presumably it's going to be armor in general. But then the joke is like, okay, he takes off his chest plate for the first time forever, and he has a bunny hoodie underneath. And then
it's like they want me to hate John.
What? You don't find John having a bunny hoodie sweatshirt sympathetic?
No, he's
Why
annoying.
Not? Why? Why is that annoying?
It's just stupid. Like, it's just like
you were RWBY in this scene. You were just
yes. I was so glad RWBY made fun of him. I was like, yes, same RWBY.
It's such a weird thing to do in the first
it's
episode
so
of the season.
And it's
why you have this scene just to have RWBY just like laugh for a minute at John? Like, this is so weird.
Like, I don't. It was so weird. And it's like a cereal thing. Like,
yeah, that was the best part of it. Is that RWBY's like it's a pumpkin pea. Did you send at the box stops for a prize? And he's like, yeah, 50 of them. That like. And then they do like the anime effect with Ruby's face really big.
Yeah.
Just a very weird idea.
It was just like that whole scene was just odd, but I was also like, I would laugh at John too.
So I guess if you're thinking about it structurally, like this episode is very focused around John, which again we're going to talk about in a minute.
Yep.
But you need to give Ruby lines, so you're giving Ruby lines in relation to John. So I guess this is one way to do that.
Yeah.
Laughing at him, but yeah, good. I'm glad we're laughing at John and shoving John into lockers last season.
Yes,
like,
thank God, that's what he deserves.
Good, what he deserves. So we'll talk about this concept again, but with the John prominence. But that scene was very weird. New short sword and shield. Where's the medal from? Our expected Pyrrha. Mention.
I think it's like really kind of awful and weird.
That they took her, that they repurposed her weapons and armor.
Yeah, like the fact that it's John is just like, again, it's like really, I don't know, it just feels so like unearned and like fake.
Like, yeah, I think it's fine. They did kiss at the end of last season. They did explore that arc to the fullest extent. We forget about that. I think you blocked that.
They did it. I mean, okay, you say fullest extent. Yeah, they kissed, but like, it's not like it was done very well or that it was interesting in any way. That's the thing. It's like this just feels so like fake and unearned. Like I don't.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, if you weren't into it last season, then you're not going to be into this.
Like I don't. It's just so hard. Like it's not even just because I dislike Jean. Like I just don't think it was done well at all. And then we do this, and it's like this is really like weird and off-putting because it's just like. Okay.
I thought the John Pierce stuff last season was fine. I don't like I forgot what their ship name is, and I don't like John, but right. I thought it was fine, and I thought this was fine. Like I don't know, I'm neutral.
No, I don't like it. Like it's like to me, like this like concept in fantasy and like having weapons is like it's a big thing and it's very emotional and this and like to me for them to do this with John and Pyrrha is just like awful. Like I don't think it's done well or it's just meh.
I will say this is less prominent of the Pyrrha mention than I would have expected. Like I kind of appreciate
you can
that.
kind of miss it. Like if you like weren't really like paying that much attention, you wouldn't know.
I do kind of appreciate that we don't have like a John crying for 2 minutes.
Right. Yeah, I do appreciate that too.
So I thought that this was considering as a decent way to incorporate the memory.
Like it's a nice nod and like it's cool. Like the idea of, we like to have weapons made like from a fallen like comrade and stuff, but then it's like the fact that it's John is just like this is really irritating.
Yeah, no, it's definitely if you're not into the John Pyrrha, then you're not gonna be into this. So their mission is going to Haven Academy. There's an airship in the next village they heard. And then we have a scene of them like bantering and whatever and like yeah, so there you go. Okay, well, before we get into the Weiss incorporation, so this is a good time to talk about John and the use and the element of the new Team RWBY. So I have an ask from our patron Andy, who says, one of our big RWBY watchers, he says, I really didn't like that John had more lines than Ruby in the first episode. If I knew nothing about the series, I would really think he was the lead. Not to mention all of Ruby's lines were either jokes or doing what John ordered. I hope this isn't setting a precedent for the rest of the season, but based on past seasons, I have a feeling it is. So our big worry going into the season is about the use of John completely. Like it's the big worry, and this episode only inflames that worry. I would say John is presented as the main character of the show this season. Agree or disagree?
I mean, I definitely agree. Like it's very focused on him, and like we have a bunch of even really stupid scenes. So because like that whole scene where he's dodging the rocks, it went on a lot longer than like probably necessary, and like it's just like they're putting a lot of focus on him, and it's just like why. My only
hope is that I'm fine with John being the main character of the episode after Pyrrha dies. That's my only hope.
Yes.
Is that this is about the John moving on. This is their incorporation of that. I think it's fine. I don't have confidence, though, that Miles is going to write a season without John being prominent.
Yeah.
I think that he doesn't understand that John is a bad character. I don't think he understands that John is not a main character, and that he is too invested in him, considering he voices him. So I think that all of these things make it very likely that John is going to be presented as a main character. And considering that our other non-RWBY leads are off screen right now, John is going to be presented as a co-lead of the show, which is not a good thing at all.
No, I'm very, very concerned. Like, this is John. He's not a good character. He's irritating. He was literally just comic relief, and now they're trying to make him a thing, and it's like, you're useless. Stop.
So since the end of season 1, John has been on the rebound.
Yep.
John had that awful arc in the end of season 1. He was fine. I think John was fine in the beginning of the season. Like, he was the first one RWBY met. And he was okay. And then he did an awful, like, I cheated to get in, and confidence and the bullying. And that was the worst thing ever. And since then, John's been better. But that's also been from the position of a secondary character. John is not someone who the audience has too much investment in. Certainly some people watching the show will have, just because they watch from a different slants, than us. And some people will say John is a good character. So I'm not saying objectively John is a terrible character. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think that if you ignore the first season, I think John is objectively is like a middle of the road character. It's just not someone that we like, mostly because the show gives him too much prominence. I think if John was on the sidelines, he'd be fine. But really, the general premise is like, the show is called RWBY. You have 4 female leads. You wrote 3 of them off for for the first half of the season, probably. And this, you're going to bring in John, who is not one of the leads, and you're going to give him annoying things to do and be annoying. And this is not something that's good.
No.
It just doesn't really make sense from a storytelling perspective.
Also just looking at the episode, like, okay, so also in context of the trailer they released and the clip that's from this episode that we watch, and like how the fight scene happens, it's like, why is John in charge?
Yeah,
Ruby's the only one doing anything, and like, it's just so stupid.
Yeah, John's like, I'm the strategist, and he doesn't really come up with anything that they can come up with on their own. He doesn't really do anything.
And they keep emphasizing we're helping Ruby on her mission, and then it's like John's still acting like he's in charge, and it's like, why?
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, the Ranger versus Junior argument is emblematic of this, and that's the only hope that gives me that they're self-aware of what's happening.
Yes.
Because they had the Ranger Junior thing. Like, it's whoever's first is the leader of the team. So is it J or is it R? And that's the only thing that gives me hope that they know that John in charge is not a good thing, because they do trend away from Junior towards Ranger at the end. Now at the end they present it as more of a John's like, whatever we're called is whatever. Like, Ruby's obviously like Ranger because, she understands. But that's they have to be at least somewhat aware of what's happening with this. Like, clearly you can't make this new team and have John be the leader. Like,
no.
But I just don't have faith that Miles knows this. Like, I don't. I mean, hopefully he's being checked on this.
I'm really concerned.
Don't know. Yeah, this is the big 100%. This is the number one concern with the season, is the use of John. 100%. And in conjunction with that, it's not just John. It's not like John or some evil. It's in conjunction with that is the not prominence of the other 3 leads.
Well, that's the thing. Like, we're having this focus on Juniper plus Ruby, and like, I'm sorry, I do not find Team Juniper interesting at all. Like, we're in volume 4, and I don't care about them, like, at all. And they're just not interesting, and it's just so, like, I just don't care.
We're much more invested in the leads, and Blake and Yang are not in this episode. Right,
and it's like, really? And of course, Delaney's like extra upset because Blake is like my child, and it's like, where's Blake? I'm just not happy about it, especially considering what happened last season. It's like, we literally didn't see Blake for forever.
Yeah. Like, it's like it's happening again. Yeah,
it's happening again, and it's like, this doesn't need to be like. What's the point of having a show of having four main leads, and then like, oh, we're gonna get rid of them like all the time? Like, what's the point? Like, it's just like, I don't care about these characters they're focusing on.
Yeah, no, it's not really acceptable, the usage of Blake the past 2 seasons. I mean, presuming Blake does not reappear next episode as a main character the rest of the season, but you can't have 2 episodes in a row where she's just like a tertiary character, like not even.
It's like, what?
It's not good. I don't think I think it's obvious that Miles and anyone else influencing the writing is not too invested in Blake.
Right.
And is more invested in John, and that's a shame.
It's horrible.
We'll see where it goes. For now, that's the biggest concern. Again, like I said in the beginning, I think in the context of this one episode, if you're gonna like try to isolate the episode and objectively rank it, like, or not rank, but like grade it, like that's, you can ignore that this is a big picture thing. So we'll see what happens rest of season. I think it's fine for this episode. I think, like I said, focusing on John post the first episode post Pyrrha is fine. Yeah. And that's kind of what they do with the armor thing. Like that's the angle they do. Yeah. So I think that kind of makes sense. So the battle thing, I think it's more worrying, like focusing on John and the battle.
Well, I'm glad they at least gave him a weapon because that was really annoying. I was like, we can't have more battles with John not having a weapon. That's stupid. He's even more useless than usual.
He's still going to be useless with the sword.
Well, yeah, but like he's going to be slightly less useless.
Jesus. Okay. So let us know what you think of that line. Tell us why you love John and we're wrong in the comments. So let's talk about Weiss, and then we'll talk about the intro. So we end the episode with my favorite part, which is they're bantering, and then Ruby's like melancholy, and then she like looks to the sky.
It's like,
and then we transition, and then we see Weiss looking to the sky. And this is our Mako and Korra book
God,
1 episode 2 moment. This is with them like longingly staring at each other from
across the bay.
This is across the bay, and these are the 2 bays, and this is the White Rose longing look. And did you see it that way too?
Well, I mean, I don't
think the episode's really presenting it like that.
Well, I mean, they do that when they literally mention, because they say thanks to Schnee Industries, like,
and then exactly, they mention Schnee, and then Ruby's
that's the part I saw.
Miss Weiss.
And I was
yes,
like,
I know.
No, I got that part.
Yeah, and then.
And I was like, Dylan's gonna freak out.
Yes, and then Weiss is also like looking and like and presumably thinking of RWBY, because obviously she'd think of RWBY, and White Rose is canon #. So, but then
just have White Rose and Bumblebee, and it's fine.
Be like significantly better show, obviously, but this is our discussion every week. So, Weiss looking out the window, and then her butler Klein comes in and like, your father's going to see you, and then she walks off screen. There you go. That's their Weiss scene. Great job. What a wonderful presentation of Weiss in this episode. It's super interesting, quality material. You're giving Weiss. Wow. Miles, what a beautifully written scene with your father's ready to see you, and then Weiss walks off. Like, seriously, how do you not have Weiss doing something more interesting here? But I didn't care because I was very happy to see her. But Like, come on.
Blake could be staring at grass, and I'd be like, "OMG, it's Blake."
Yeah, exactly. Like, Weiss also looking gorgeous. Like her new model. Out of all the models, Weiss's new model.
Weiss is pretty great.
Doing the most favors to her. Like, okay. So. Last week, I'm going to give myself props. I said we would not see any of the other 3 members of Team RWBY until the end of episode 1, and that's exactly what they did. There's a predictable structure. That being said, it was only Weiss. Like, I thought we would have like a montage of what each of them are up to at the end. But no, now I'm worried that the next 2 episodes are the same structure, and it's like episode 2, we're going to have new Team Ranger do stuff, the villains do stuff, and then at the end, we're going to check in on Blake. And then and then episode 3, the same thing, we're going to check in on Yang. And I think that's probably what they're going to do. So that really yeah. But yeah. So what did the Weiss scene, any other comments on Weiss?
I mean, Weiss looks great. Yeah. I wanted more Weiss, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think I have a feeling that kind of like volume 3, but maybe a little more so in this volume, that we've kind of bitten off more than we can chew, and we're gonna have a little bit too much going on at once, and we're not gonna get adequate coverage of like all of our plots.
I mean, sure. I think it's less of a over coverage thing than more of a just they don't care about showing Weiss and Yang and Blake type thing. I feel like it's them prioritizing different things. Like they're clearly inventing plots. So you know. Whatever. And of course, Weiss and Schnee Mansion, presumably, and stuff like that. Okay, so let's talk about the intro, because we got our Blake and Yang fix from the intro.
Thank God.
So in general, what are your thoughts on the new intro? What do you think of the new intro song, which I don't know the name of yet? But
I like the new intro song. I mean, it's a little bit different than like the original, so it takes a little bit to get used to, but like it's good.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot more going on in the intro than like the old intro. There's a lot.
Yeah.
It's good.
The intro changed every season, and there's. I think what's notable about this one is that there's a lot of stuff that we don't know about yet from the season. Like previous intros, I don't really think introduce new elements. So I think
that's the thing. Well, I think it's also like we've just changed what's going on so much that like this intro is just like jarring.
Yeah. The worst part of the intro is at the end we get 2 shots. We get Team Ranger and then John is like at the front of it. So that's another
Right.
worrying thing.
No.
Like John is prominent in the front, and then we get a back shot of Team RWBY. It's like Team RWBY's in the background. Like,
Right. Like,
so,
no.
Yeah. I thought the song was good. These songs take a while to grow on you from what I've found. So right now I'd rank it 4th out of the 4, but I think it gets good and it could surpass 3 pretty easily. So here's the new plot elements we get from the intro. We get the Weiss section. We see Klein. We see another guy who we don't know. We see her dad, and Weiss is like angry.
I'm very concerned by this intro because in literally every character segment there is a new boy who looks like it's the age of our characters, and it's irritating.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about the Blake one. We'll see what you're referencing there. But there's the new guy in the Weiss's intro who kind of looks like a butler, but he looks like Weiss, so probably like a brother.
It could be a sibling. Or I hope it's a sibling.
Yeah, I think it's probably Weiss's younger brother, but we haven't seen him referenced in the show, so I don't know. We see Weiss's dad, and Weiss is angry. On the Blake side, we see I know Delaney was very happy at first. Blake with son. Looking very coupley.
It's not okay.
But then Blake, a big guy, comes and shoves his son to the side, much like Delaney wants to do.
Yes.
And there's someone else with them. So, leading thoughts are that these are Blake's parents.
That's what I thought when I saw it. I was like, ooh, Blake's fam.
At first, people were like, oh, that's a guy, like the shorter one.
Right.
But I think that's probably Blake's mom.
Yeah, I think those are like her. I think that's her family.
A very Cora looking mom and dad.
Yes, Def.
Giant father and then the tiny mother. So thoughts on, as the Blake #1 fan, thoughts on Blake's parents, thoughts on Blake having parents? Like that was not a thing we knew.
Right, yeah. I'm like, I guess we just kind of assumed based on like her backstory and things. But no, I guess this is interesting. We'll just have to see like what's going on.
And they're on like a pirate ship too.
Yeah, like what are like more about Blake's backstory? Yes, please. And let's push Son off the boat.
Why is Son there? Like,
seriously, why is he there? That is so irritating.
Oh, I'm as the resident Son fan of the podcast, though. I'm interested to see why he's there, but
I don't need to know why he's there. He cannot be there.
At the very least, Mercury's not in the intro. At the very least.
That's fair.
So there's the Blake section. We have Yang training with her dad, but then there's 2 Yangs, and then
I thought that was like her mom.
I think that's Tai Yang. I think that's supposed to be her dad. But
no. I meant like when you say 2 Yangs, I thought it was her mom.
Oh, okay. See, my read, it's not clear from the intro. My read is that this was like a representative of the fact that Yang's arc this season is going to be psychological, and she's like fighting herself in her head. That was kind of my read on it.
Well, I just thought it was like her mom, which that makes sense too, given what Yang's been going through. But I don't know.
Yang's mom would be Raven, who would be black-haired. But
I don't.
Raven could be. I mean, maybe Raven could look like that. I don't know. And then there's like presumably White Fang soldiers too in her thing, although they look different. Probably White Fang soldiers. So that's interesting. So my read on this is emblematic of White's or representative of like psychological arc, which I'm not looking forward to them doing.
No.
But maybe they'll handle it better. But yeah, I would like to get Yang away from her house and back into action. So who knows when we'll do that? Probably not soon.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, then we have some other random sections at the end. We see Blake fighting Adam. But I'm not sure if that's actually happening. I think that's probably in her head.
Yeah, maybe. Like, the scene's really weird, especially since there's like the part where like it looks like he's literally going to skewer her. That might be like a nightmare.
Yeah, I think it's like something like that. We see Weiss maybe summoning.
Yeah,
there's like a glyph on the ground. Yeah. So that's I'm interested in continuing the Weiss summoning arc, and then we have our Ranger and RWBY shots. Yes.
Yep.
So there's the new intro. Yeah. So from the new intro, excitement for the season. Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited, but I'm also I'm also nervous about a lot of the things that I saw in the intro. But we'll just have to see.
Next episode is it's all about Blake and Son, the passionate romance. That's what we're gonna get now.
No.
We'll see. Well, it is weird that Son is in the intro.
Like, who cares about Son?
I care a little bit.
No.
A little bit.
0%.
I care about him maybe more than John. To be honest.
Nope.
To be honest. Okay, let's talk. Who do you care about more, Son or John, in the comments? So yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Episode 1 overall. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Can I do like a sideways thumb?
Yeah. I agree.
sideways them.
I think this is. I don't know if this is better than an average episode of Volume 3. It might be just because there wasn't a dumb tournament scene.
Yes, yeah, there just wasn't there wasn't there. So I don't know. Just less John, please.
Let's John, please. That's our big hope going in the next episode. And I don't know anything about next episode. We'll see. Next week we'll be back discussing whatever it is. Hopefully Rooster Teeth will not have a 5-hour server crash again, and they will be able to bring it on time and stuff like that. And so we'll be back probably Sunday afternoons to having a RWBY episode discussion up. Let us know your comments. I would ask that you please be respectful in the YouTube comments. If you want more thoughts on this, you can listen to our Volume 4 preview where I talk more about our coverage overall, but please be respectful. I've had problems with non-respectful RWBY comments. I know we're critical of the show, but that's, what we do. That's fair game, obviously. Show is not sacrosanct. And leave YouTube comments on the website on overlyanimated.com. You can click on the podcast and leave comments there, or you can send us Tumblr asks. I will respond to everything, assuming that you are not super mean to me. And there you go. We'll be back next week. Upcoming podcasts are a new Powerpuff Girls podcast. We'll have some sort of Steven Universe Roundtable, a bunch of stuff like that. So good stuff coming at overlyanimated.com. You can check us out there. You can consider supporting us at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thank you very much to our patrons: Mitch, Cordell, Beatrice, Nate, Andy, Jamie, Rachel, John, Ryan, Catherine, Taylor, Devon, Jade, John Finish, and Victoria and Katrin, aka Fever Mitch, Corner Sleepy Strange, and Phillium, Buzz Like Your Mailman, Rachel Rose, Johnny Bravo, Brian Cookcat, Needle, Diamond Day, Jewel, Garfield, Fusion, Skylark, Patron, Katrin. Maybe you, much like Rachel, can get a cool RWBY nickname. That'd be cool if we had a second RWBY nickname. And yeah, let us know your thoughts. Speculate on the farm boy. Tell us why
who is
agree
he?
Or disagree about John, and which of the 3 new villains, I guess, is your fave. None of them, if you're like Delaney, but maybe you haven't answered that question. I guess I'll say, I didn't know if I answered that question. I guess I'll say Dr. Watts for now, because he had the most to do. That's fair. So we'll see where we go. So last comments, Delaney?
We'll just have to see what happens. It was an okay episode, but I have some concerns. But we'll see.
We'll see. We kept it under an hour. That's good. I'm proud of us. Okay, thank you guys for listening. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.